Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike Gilbert from Combat Republic with a quick reaction of WWE NXT. This week was the relaunch of NXT. It's called WWE NXT 2.0, and they totally overhauled, and some can say made it better, some can say make it worse, but they completely overhauled and revamped the NXT brand, the logo, everything. It's got bright colors and flashing lights, and they completely brightened up the Capitol Wrestling Center. Honestly, I can't even remember if they call it that anymore. Triple H was more darker and dingy and grittier. It looked like you're going more to a heavy metal concert as opposed to a wrestling show, or at least to a WWE event, which I thought was cool. I think I preferred that, honestly. But also, I'm quite a few years younger than Triple H, but I think me and him have similar musical tastes, I would say. So it seemed like when you're going to the Capitol Wrestling Center, you're going more to a Motorhead concert as opposed to a WWE event, and I thought that was great. So I did prefer the old look and the old logo with the skulls and the heavy metal and yada yada yada, but I do know that a lot of people really enjoyed the new brighter color. So to start it off, we had a confrontation between LA Knight and Braun Breaker, who is Bronson Rick Steiner's son and Scott Steiner's nephew. He was a pretty good college football player at a really small school, and he didn't get drafted, but he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Baltimore Ravens. Went into training camp, and he was cut there as a fullback. He never really made the team, and once he got cut, he immediately signed with WWE. And to say that I've been excited and anticipating this kid's arrival for a long time would be an understatement. The Steiner brothers are my all-time favorite tag team, and it's they're I would say it's not even close. I just preferred their style to every other style. That doesn't mean that they're the greatest tag team that ever lived. I think that's up for debate, but me personally, I enjoyed the Steiner brothers the most, and I am just super pumped about this kid. I not a big fan of the name though. Braun Breaker is not a cool name. It just sounds like something they punched into their name generator, and it came out. They gave him the name Braun, which I think that if people were thinking that Braun Strowman was on his way back to WWE, well, not looking good for old Braun Strowman, or Adam Scherr, who seems to be earmarked for Impact anyway. But there was some thought out there that he would eventually just take a pay cut and go back to WWE, but that's not looking good for him because they've already given his first name away. But I still think that they should go with Rex Steiner, which is what they were originally calling him to begin with, but it is what it is. WWE is not the greatest at picking out names, but he confronts LA Knight to begin the show, and they immediately make a match, which is weird because LA Knight's in the main event in a four-way for the NXT title. But he ends up having a match to begin the show. He thinks he can beat this Punk kid. Well, that Punk kid came in there and whooped his ass, and so he beat him pretty quick, and he did it in impressive fashion. I'm really, really liking this guy. I think that he's going to be a big star in WWE. He looked a little bit nervous at times. He was overexcited at times. He had some Mojo Rawley vibes, which is not cool. I think that he can temper that stuff as he gets more and more comfortable on camera and in the spotlight. But a good debut for Braun Breaker, aka Bronson Rex Steiner. And poor LA Knight, man, he did not have a great night. Next we go to Imperium. Marcel Barthel and Fabian Eichner, they defeated Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs, another debuting team. Lots of debuts tonight. I think there was like 6 debuts. Beat them over pretty easily. Next we got B-Fab making her in-ring debut. She defeated Katrina Cortez. Pins her quick enhancement match, but looked solid there. And then we get a Carmelo Hayes interview. He just talking about how he now has the juice, a la Tupac Shakur in his movie called Juice. But he admits there's a target on his back, and he called a friend to help, and that friend is Trick Williams. So Trick Williams makes his debut, and then he gets confronted by Duke Hudson, and immediately they get into the ring. Trick says stuff like, "That stops tonight." Trick removes his shirt, and he jumps Hudson. Hayes joins in, giving Hudson a beatdown. Then Mandy Rose comes back, debuting a new look, and that was what it was. Next we go to Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro defeating Gigi Dolan and JC Jane via DQ because Mandy Rose ran in and they jumped him. And then in the back, we get Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. They jump Kyle O'Reilly. They knock him out of the match. And Wayne Bloom's son, Cal Bloom, who is going by Von Bronner, I think is his name. We'll get more to that later. And then we got Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane defeated Saray, Caden Carter, and Casey Catanzaro. Decent little match there. Nothing really to write home about. But no, it's Von Wagner, not Von Bronner. Von Bronner was a legendary tag team from the 40s and 50s that went into the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame recently. After that, we get Ridge Holland. He squashes poor old Drake Maverick. Which I think Ridge Holland's the guy that they're going to be getting behind. He's impressive looking. Next is, speaking of Steiner Brothers, my new favorite tag team in the world right now, Julius and Brutus Creed from the Diamond Mine. They squashed two jabronis, kicked their asses easily, and they look great doing it. They're the greatest tag team in the world already. I love those guys. And then we get Tommaso Ciampa. He wins the NXT title. Goldie's coming back home to Tommaso Ciampa. He defeated Pete Dunne, who I thought was going to be winning here, because as I broke the news that that Fightful Select got a week and a half after me, and they're getting all the credit for it, but that's neither here nor there. Defeated Pete Dunne, LA Knight, and Von Wagner in a fatal four-way. A decent TV match, nothing really to write home about, not really anything you need to go out of your way to see. Good match though. But he pins LA Knight. LA Knight pinned twice in one night. LA Knight's almost 40. I don't know. Maybe he goes to the main roster, but if he doesn't go to the main roster, I don't know what he's doing in developmental. Because the thing that I really took away from this new revamp is it is truly back to being a developmental brand in developmental territory. This was completely focused on building unknown, unnamed talent and getting them ready to go to go on the main roster one day. And they clearly have a type. I do think it's smart to keep the title on a veteran and let him work with some of the younger talent. I know Braun Breaker has already made a challenge, so maybe that's something that we'll see eventually. But that's the direction that NXT is going, and it's not just a super indie anymore, which is what it became. It originally was designed to be building up new and unknown talent that they have groomed themselves, and then what it turned into is they were just signing big name talent off of the indies, off of Ring of Honor, signing them from Impact, AAA, CMLL, New Japan, and then putting them into their system and putting them up on the main roster. And a lot of guys started when they were already over 35 and had been around the world, multiple times and been in the business for 15, 20 years. Well, now they're really going back to what it was always meant to be. And hey, look, I enjoyed the model of the super indie with better production values. I did enjoy that model. They produced some of the best television that I had seen from about 2014 to about 2019. So I can't say that I didn't enjoy it, because I really did, but I understand where they're going, and I think it does make sense. And then the end was the wedding of Index. And look, this stuff normally isn't for me, but I actually found this to be very entertaining. And my favorite part was when they asked if anyone should not want them to get married. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And then out of his jacket comes, out of Dexter Gaylord Loomis, which I think they probably think is pretty funny. His jacket, he had a hatchet inside there and threatened to murder anybody that objected to the wedding. And they end up getting married. A cool quote was, "Damn right, he's a freak." And he says, "Dexter's my freak." She goes to say that she remembers that night he climbed into Gargano's house that night. Beth Phoenix jumped into the ring at some point and said she has history. She helped play matchmaker. Phoenix she was the matchmaker there at one point. So Phoenix pronounces them husband and wife, and you may kiss the bride. The couple kiss for a very happy ending. So all's well that ends well, right? They had a happy ending, a little bit of shenanigans there, but a decent segment overall. But hey, look, I'm giving the new template here a chance, the new NXT a chance, and I'll be checking it out every week.